I'd like to call to order the meeting for October 4th, 2024. And before we get into business, if we could stand and all say the Pledge of Allegiance together, although I'm looking for a flag. Do we have a flag in here?
I don't have a flag. Can do it anyway.
Well, we will assume there's one. We're going to go virtual on the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please call the roll?
Regent Adidam?
Here.
Regent Devaraju?
Here.
Regent Herbin?
Here.
Regent Schroeder?
Here.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Here.
Regent O'Connor?
Here.
Regent Schaefer?
Here.
Regent Shear?
Here.
Regent Stark?
Here.
Regent Whites?
Here.
Regent Wilmot?
Here.
A quorum is present.
In your materials, you have copies of the minutes from the meeting on August 8th, 2024. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So
Make it.
moved.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Having none, roll call, please.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? The motion passes.
In compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, the board has posted a copy of the act at the back of the room. So we will now move on to our presentations, and first up is the UNK update. And with that, we have Interim Chancellor Bicek. Thank you for hosting the Board of Regents at yesterday's campus visit and today's meeting. As is tradition, we'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to give us an update on what's happening on campus. So with that, I'm pleased to turn over the mic to Interim Chancellor Bicek.
Thank you, Chairman Schaefer. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you all today. Welcome to Kearney, welcome to UNK, and indeed welcome to the newly opened Regional Engagement Center. What I would like to do this morning is provide you an update on some key activities over the last several months at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and call this the UNK Advantage. All our campuses within this system have distinct properties, characteristics that provide advantages across the system, but indeed at the same time we cling together effectively as one university. Let me begin by talking a little bit about recent rankings. We're pleased at the University of Nebraska at Kearney that as a Midwest regional university, as ranked by U.S. News and World Report, our ranking is number 6. We've been in the top 10 for many years. Nudging the needle has always been a considerable effort, but we have moved from 10, 9 to 6 over the last few years, and we're pleased by that. We're a best value campus, ranked as number 5, and a best school for veterans, ranked number 10. The rankings are important to us. They're important to prospective students, but perhaps even more important to prospective parents of students and their guardians. Strengths on our campus rest really with faculty and interaction with students. Faculty who are genuine teacher scholars. We have across the UNK campus a universal experiential learning requirement, which essentially means that all students complete, regardless of the discipline, regardless of the academic college in which they're housed, complete an extended, independent, yet faculty-guided learning experience. That's a requirement prior to escaping from us, I should say, graduating from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Our enrollment, year in and year out, continues to be 40% or more first-generation students. That's important to us in terms of recognizing the needs, the support system that we need to provide for them. This past year, our retention rate for rising sophomores, freshmen into the sophomore year, broke the 80% level. Our high water mark in recent years was 81% a few years back. Our goal is to raise that number higher than 80 and higher than indeed 81%. There's no reason why we can't be in the 84 or 85% arena. When it's 80%, my first reaction is that that's a very good thing. My second reaction is what happened to the 20% that did not persist or stay with us? We know indeed that some of them go on to other institutions, sometimes within our system, to UNO or UNL in particular. Others might go elsewhere and continue their education. So it's important to us to try to continue to figure out how to follow up on those students. That's a bit of a challenge, but it's an important one. Programs in every college across this campus represent 100% placement when it comes to positions in the professional workforce. And I think that underlies this figure. 93% of our alums report being satisfied with their experience at UNK. I think that satisfaction comes as a consequence of the value, the cost associated with the University of Nebraska Kearney and the return on that investment. It comes with size, it comes with a remembering of the interactive personal experience with faculty as well. Facilities matter. Facilities matter on any campus, no question about that. And amongst changes on our campus recently are a reimagining as well as a renovation of the Calvin T. Ryan Library. The Calvin T. Ryan Library includes now a Loper Success Hub. This is an important resource on our campus for a combination of accessibility and success opportunities for our students, tutoring, advising, success coaches, disability services, and more. In the language of higher education, this really is a one-stop shop. Rather than students being shuttled from place to place across campus to get questions answered, this can be done all in one place. One of the really most satisfying projects in which I've been involved for many years is the partnership with the University of Nebraska Medical Center and all that we accomplished with the opening of the doors of Health Science Education Complex 1 in 2015 that expanded UNMC nursing and for the first time brought several programs in the College of Allied Health Professions to the UNK campus, a UNK building with UNMC curriculums. We're on the cusp of adding a second building, the Rural Health Education Building, part of the Christensen Health Science Education Complex, to be opened in a little over a year's time, in addition to expanded nursing and expanded allied health programs like physical therapy, physician assistant, imaging, radiography, sonography, medical lab science. We'll add for the first time medicine, the College of Medicine, College of Pharmacy, College of Public Health. That's 5 of the 6 clinical professional colleges at UNMC. Dentistry is on the heels, and we're working closely with Dean Kyle Meyer and Dean Jerry Kugel to make that happen as well. So this is a real important step forward for both our campuses, indeed for the citizenry, I think, of the state of Nebraska. Again, within the notion of facilities matter, the Regional Engagement Center, the building in which we're located this morning, it gives us opportunities to do a variety of things that serve not only students, but serve the citizens in the area. An example of what I would envision as a use of this particular building is having driven by the Health Science Education Complex about a year and a half ago on a Saturday, and seeing the parking lot filled. I wondered what's happening. Well, there was a continuing education session for pharmacists from rural Nebraska, points in central Nebraska and points west. That's an ideal kind of activity for this building, as well as so many other kinds of activities. This building houses the NU Foundation, Kearney Division. It also houses the NU, or University of Nebraska Kearney Alumni Association, as well as private tenants. So it's a public-private kind of venture. Olson and Associates, Wilkins Architectural Firm, Allo Fiber, and Chief Industries are within this facility at this time. I think that's a wonderful example of how we thrive when we partner not only across campuses, but with the private sector as well. Let me shift a little bit to talk about academic excellence and how important it is that our students leave with the best possible experience that sets them up for the best possible combined personal and professional life. Industrial technology. Enrollment in industrial technology is up 5% this past year. Why? The commitment of faculty to students and, importantly, business connections. Much of this success I would chalk up to an old friend and faculty member named Don Envik, a remarkably imaginative thinker. Don understood that industrial technology, which includes programs like industrial distribution, construction management, aviation systems, cyber systems, requires hands-on experience, requires extended time away from the campus in internship opportunities. Industrial distribution is a classic example of that, and I would cite for you a student named Caleb Hoadley in industrial distribution. Supply chain management, logistics are within this realm. Serving in the National Guard, UNK ROTC cadet, 7th place in a national sales competition, tough competition, extremely successful. 2 internships with industrial supply companies. Caleb is one of those students, like so many in this program, who will not only have a job at the time of graduation, but multiple offers from which to choose. So a very significant advance in career preparation and career development. Also within the College of Business. Pardon?
Will those jobs, how many of those jobs are here in
80% of those students stay within the state of Nebraska. We don't, Regent Claire, begrudge those students who might go into a fine management position with Caterpillar or John Deere in Illinois, for example, but the majority stay here.
They'll
Yes.
figure it out and come back.
Many of us do. Management, another area in business and technology is up 3%. Again, experiential learning, which had its roots as a college-wide venture within the College of Business and Technology. I think Jillian Ashoff's comment here says it all. My professors challenged me and helped me succeed in all my classes. The hands-on experience has helped me gain the necessary tools to succeed in my future career, and I appreciate all the connections I made. Underscore the importance of connections. She was also a fine basketball player. Communication disorders, which is housed in the College of Education, had enrollment increases up to 12% this past year. They have an innovative curriculum, an undergraduate program in communication disorders, and an online master's program in speech-language pathology. That program has grown by leaps and bounds, and frankly, I'll say, as having been the prior Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, when the chair came to me and Michelle McKelvey, Dr. McKelvey said, we will need 2 and perhaps 3 additional faculty positions. We took a flyer on this concept, and it has gained ground and grown tremendously. So it was one of those return on investment opportunities that has paid off well, not only for UNK, but for the students, for which there's great demand in speech-language pathology. And Sierra Ostek, the student on the right, who routinely, amongst our many other students, presents their work in arenas around campus and around the country, is a classic example of a success story in that area. Continuing with academic excellence, our natural and physical science programs have grown in enrollment. Biology up 16%, chemistry up 15%, math 33%, physics up 20%. And you might suspect, why is that across the natural sciences? One clear reason is these are all the fundamental course areas required for the health sciences. So the two go hand in hand, no question about that. They're the underpinning for our success that allows for 16 or 17 of the programs that are in the clinical health sciences, our pre-health areas, combined show a 94% acceptance rate of those students at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. The past year, 2023, that acceptance rate in the College of Medicine was 75% alone, which is a remarkable figure given the national averages in this area. That varies from year to year, but the success has been consistent through time. Another area in academic excellence I'd like to mention is political science. Their enrollment is up, that department's enrollment is up 29%. Why? Faculty are committed. They're committed to advising, they're committed to mentoring, they're committed to the success of students. Partnership with the University of Nebraska Lincoln College of Law has been excellent. Just as we have a K-HOP program in medicine, we have a K-LOP program in law. There is a dearth of attorneys across our 93 counties, notably in central and western Nebraska. So the model of K-LOP based on K-HOP has been really successful for us. We're also in the process of completing the organization of a partnership with UNO, with the College of Public Affairs and Community Service, CPACs, and that partnership will allow for a 4+2 relationship with that college, 4 years at UNK, in political science, then 2 years in the master's program, allowing for development of managerial folks that can serve in a lot of capacities, from municipalities to organizations like the natural resources districts across the state of Nebraska. It's all about experiential learning, and as a key part of that experiential learning is travel. Dr. Chuck Rowling, the chair of that department, on the right is a shot showing a recent trip through the South, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, an important learning experience for the students. And on the left is The Hague in the Netherlands, also a remarkable opportunity for students to see the International Court of Justice in operation. An example of a student success story in this area would be Alex Chavez Monasterio. He's in the KLOP, Kearney Law Opportunities Program. He has presented his original research. He did so in Vancouver, British Columbia, completed a paid internship in Hastings, Adams County Defender's Office, has also experienced international travel, Northern Ireland, Europe, and Cuba, and he's a member of UNK Model United Nations. So, yes.
While it's up for debate whether more lawyers are necessary. That was a joke. What is not up for debate is the fact that population areas. Bar Association is working on that. I would really, if you're not, I would really encourage you with the Bar Association as well in this program, because it's vitally important for different smaller communities.
Agreed, Regent Claire, there's much more we can do. I will tell you that the KLOP program had its roots in conversation with Tom Mall some 7 or 8 years ago from Amherst, and we've continued those conversations. We need to expand them.
I can also speak to that. I know the Bar Association has taken a role in connecting KLOP students with internship employers throughout the state. We've actually had a lot this summer that were connected through the Bar. And I know this because my mom works for the Bar.
Very good. I would close
Bar
or near
Association.
closing. I know your mother's son.
Hopefully she's not watching.
Just a closing comment about athletics. We are a student athlete-driven institution as a D2 Division II campus. We have 472 student athletes, maybe a little more at this time. 9 women's sports, varsity sports, and 6 men's sports. And we have a strategic focus on the whole student success. And I think that's an important part of who we are at UNK. We lost a heartbreaker to Central Missouri last Saturday, 36-35. We will win when we go to Southwest Minnesota tomorrow. Our volleyball team continues to be undefeated at 14-0, and so our athletics have been a point of pride.
To me, the power of the
This is a closing video I'd like you to watch.
To me, the power of the herd is it's all about the great community that we have at UNK. And, I think it's something that you can see every day. I think life is about like the little interactions that you have every day and the relationships that you create. And I was worried that I'd come into college and I'd meet all these people the first week and I'd never see them ever again. But that's what's so special, is that you can have these little interactions with people and it just keeps building and you create long-lasting relationships.
Power of the herd, to me, means that people are willing to invest to help students have a meaningful experience. From the Kearney community, from administration, from other faculty, from staff, people sincerely care, they're willing, and they actually are able. People matter, right? That is one of the core values of this university, and we're caring for each other and for other students.
Can't find a professor that's not willing to help you. You can't find a student or staff member that's willing to help you. It's really special, and it's ingrained in our culture.
Here at UNK, we want you to learn your subject and be competent, but we're also here to care. And that's one of the most meaningful things we can do. is help them have courage and empower them. Today's students have different needs than they did 20 years ago with social media, with the internet, with access to information, to the questions that they want to have answered and the kind of experiences they want to have. It's been so powerful. I've been able to watch faculty meaningfully collaborate on this, to reflect on the needs of students, to reflect on the resources that we as faculty have and what we need, and to meaningfully discuss what does it look like to really support students in a higher education experience.
Our student engagement office is very proactive in creating programming opportunities, involves students, stick around, and they do better. Research shows.
One of the great benefits of being at UNK is you have small classes and you get support to create experiential learning. Like for a student, an undergraduate student, to be meaningfully engaged in research and be a co-author, not just some sort of minion, is remarkable. And there's other examples on campus of meaningful experiential learning where that kind of teaching is more labor intensive, it's more complicated, it's harder to grade, but that is the kind of work we want to do here because we don't want students to talk about what they do here, they want them to do it.
The empowerment of our students comes in the form of a fine balance between cultivating the talents of the individual and recognizing the strength of the collective good, working together, or the power of the herd, if you like. Everyone counts on our campus. Everyone counts, and we must remember that. You all make the difference. Let's make this year a memorable benchmark for the future.
And thank you. That concludes my remarks this morning.
Thank you again, Chancellor Bicek.
Regent Schaefer, is there a possibility that people standing could come up and fill the empty chairs?
Yeah, there's some empty chairs here, and I'd also like to advise that there is an overflow room, and my understanding is that is room 205, but there are a few chairs vacant. If people want to grab them, feel free. Or if you like standing, that's fine too. I have a law partner who loves to say he's a stander, so that's up to you though. So with that, we'll now move on to our kudos portion. At each Board of Regents meeting, we take time to recognize those persons who all too often don't receive the recognition that they deserve. The Board of Regents believes that it is vitally important that we acknowledge your commitment as well as your contributions to the university. To have been nominated by either a supervisor or a fellow worker is an honor in and of itself. As the kudos recipients are announced, please come to the podium and join the regent making the presentation. Following each presentation, we will take pictures that will appear on our website. The president, chancellor, recipient's family, and supporters will be part of the photo. The first kudos recipient is Susan Peterson from the University of Nebraska, Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Schroeder.
Go.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am pleased to present a kudos award to Ms. Susan Peterson, Assistant Nursing Director and Clinic Nurse for the Student Health at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. A lifelong Nebraskan, Sue was born in Lincoln and moved to Kearney in the 3rd grade. With over 40 years of nursing experience, she has worked in hospital medical units, mental health, orthopedics, urology, and immunization clinics. In 1997, she joined the UNK student health team, dedicating her expertise to serving students, faculty, and staff for nearly 3 decades. Sue says, "I never saw myself working in student health when I was a young nurse, but I fell in love with it from the very beginning. I love our students and love serving them." UNK professor Dr. Peter Longo shared, Sue's care demonstrates a high degree of competency and empathy, earning many praiseworthy comments from students. On a personal note, she was a lifesaver for me while I experienced a major artery burst on April 29th. Her swift diagnosis and prompt referral to the ER were crucial to my recovery. We are fortunate to have her gifted presence on our campus. She truly is saving lives every day. Sue is actively involved in the Kearney community, volunteering with Loper Cats, Kearney Rescue Cats, the Boy Scouts, Habitat for Humanity, and her church. Passion for nature drives hobbies in birdwatching, maintaining a local bluebird trail, and gardening. She also enjoys running, hiking, and training 2 dogs for competitive events with her husband, Ken Peterson. Ken is with her today. Congratulations to Sue Peterson. Her positive spirit and unwavering commitment to make her not only a valued colleague, but also a vital member of our clinic's heart and soul. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Susan. Regent Herbin will present the Kudos Award to Sarah Quinn from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Sarah Quinn, Director of Research Compliance Services and Research Integrity at UNO. Sarah consistently demonstrates outstanding leadership, work ethic, and dedication to ensuring research compliance within federal and state regulations, institutional policies, and ethical standards. In her decade of service, Sarah has expertly managed a 172% increase in regulatory changes. She oversees key areas such as human research protection, conflicts of interest and commitment, expert control, research misconduct, data security, and the responsible conduct of research. Her commitment to professional development and proactive collaboration with peers of nationwide further illustrates her dedication. 2 standout contributions include addressing federal concerns on research security, ensuring swift university compliance with policies on foreign influence, while playing a pivotal role in updating the UNL conflict of interest and commitment policy in 2024. Sarah's thoughtful communication ensured smooth implementation across the campus. Her passion for integrity and education in her work is evident as she promotes responsible conduct of research and prepares faculty, students, and staff to uphold ethical standards in their careers. For her exceptional service, Sarah Quinn's nomination for this Kudos Award is well deserved. With Sarah today is her supervisor, Jen Nelson. Please join me in thanking Sarah Quinn for her dedication to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
Yeah. Maybe we could put someone else. Dr. Gould, do you mind? No. There.
Congratulations, Sarah. Regent Devarahu will present the Kudos Award to Johnny Fichter from the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And please don't trip coming up and down those steps.
I thought
We
there
have
was
too
a
many
step.
lawyers in this room for that.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am pleased to present a Kudos Award to Johnny Fichter, Zone Facility Technician in Facilities Management and Planning at UNMC. In this role, Johnny oversees maintenance issues at UNMC's Monroe-Meyer Institute, a facility uniquely suited to provide care for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Johnny is comfortable dealing with a range of issues, from preventive maintenance to minor renovations to HVAC, plumbing, and lighting. One of his more unique tasks is maintaining MMI's iconic wind-powered kinetic sculpture titled Soar, while ensuring it continues to turn freely. He is also UNMC's expert on pool maintenance, as MMI clients have access to an indoor exercise pool, therapy pool, and splash pad. Johnny began working at UNMC Facilities Management and Planning in November 2005 and is heralded as a well-rounded technician who greets everyone with energy, respect, and an enthusiastic good day. Quote, "Johnny looks for the best way to repair and maintain this beautiful facility," his nominator said. "His attention and respect for the building lets the individuals we serve and their families know they are valued and welcome," end quote. With him today are his supervisor, Sean Smith, Marvin Olson, Facilities Manager, Tyler Busboom, Director of Facilities, and Jennifer Bartholomew, Vice President of Facilities Management. Join me in thanking Johnny for his expertise and dedication in maintaining UNMC's Monroe-Meyer Institute and for the energy and customer service skills he employs with everyone he meets.
Congratulations, Johnny. Michelle Teese from the University of Nebraska at Omaha is our final recipient, and the award will be presented by Regent Adidam. Yeah, make sure we don't trip over that key.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Michelle Teese, Office Associate for the School of Communication within the College of Communication, Fine Arts and Media at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Abby Sirik, Assistant Dean for the College of Communication, Fine Arts and Media, says that Michelle has many outstanding qualities that make her a tremendous asset to the school, college, and university. But perhaps the most impressive ethical standard she has upheld is that of student success. This spring, Michelle stepped up to support academic advising while an advisor was on leave. She made sure each student had what they needed to enroll for classes. In one instance, Michelle went the extra mile to connect a student with concerned about completing their degree with the dean's office to explore avenues for achieving their goals. Due to Michelle's outreach, the student successfully graduated and is a proud UNO alumnus, says Sirik. While working in the School of Communication, Michelle also completed her master's degree at UNO. Excited by her coursework, Michelle often incorporated concrete examples, theories, and innovative solutions into her daily work and advising role. Michelle is a maverick at heart. She loves collaborating with her colleagues and peers. She can always be found with a smile on her face. Today, Michelle has brought her husband, Brian, Dr. Heather Hunley, the director of UNO School Communication, as her guests. Please join me in thanking Michelle for her dedication to the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Congratulations, Michelle. Again, congratulations to all our Kudos Award recipients. Now I'd like to ask President Gold to make a few remarks. Please don't trip on your way back.
I think there are enough lawyers in the room if that were to happen. Well, thank you, Regent Schaefer, and I want to add my most sincere thanks to Interim Chancellor Bisek for his wonderful presentation this morning, and more so for hosting us on the campus tour. The fact that we are able to host this meeting in the brand new Regional Engagement Center is a tangible illustration of the momentum of the University of Nebraska at Kearney and across the entire University of Nebraska system. This will clearly be a tremendous facility for the campus and the community. We're excited to see all the things that will happen in this facility and on this campus. It's not uncommon for a new leader to pause and reflect at the 100-day mark of their tenure. Admittedly, I'm only 96 days into this incredible odyssey, but I think that's close enough to begin to reflect. The short version is that I am even more humbled and energized than I was 100 days ago about the opportunities ahead for the University of Nebraska. A few weeks ago, on September 5th, I had the great honor of being with my family and many of you in the People's House, the capital of our state, to celebrate the work and the impact of our university. I said then that this historic setting served as a call to action. It served for each of us to launch our great university from, and I underscored, from excellent to the extraordinary. As we all know, Nebraska has a storied history of excellence in the classroom, in the research laboratories, in our medical facilities, across our extensions, and on the playing field. But as I said on that day of my investiture, our biggest mistake would be to say that excellent is good enough. This is a time to put our foot on the accelerator and to not rest on our laurels. Over the last decade, and especially over the last 97 days, I've had the privilege of traveling this state, literally end to end, meeting with Nebraskans of all backgrounds and talking to them and listen to them about their beliefs for the future of their university system. And what have I heard over and over again? I've heard that an affordable, accessible, underscore high quality, growing and thriving university is even more important now than it was 155 years ago when we were founded. I heard that we, and I quote, cannot afraid to be bold, unquote. Nebraskans aren't looking for incremental growth. They're looking for aspirational change. And as I remind our teams all the time, if we're not growing, we're stagnant. And that's not what Nebraskans expect or deserve. The opposite of growth is not sustainability, but it's actually far worse. Nebraskans expect us to always be aiming higher, and I take that responsibility seriously. That is the thinking behind what we're now calling our Odyssey to the Extraordinary, a truly Homeric journey to what it's going to take to be a truly extraordinary institution. Our Odyssey is a vision to chart a bold path forward for new achievements and student success in partnerships with public and private sectors, in athletics, in teaching, in research, across our work with the Department of Defense that matter to Nebraskans. But first, we have to have an impact locally in agriculture, healthcare, early childhood, national security, and as a relative to a newcomer to our list, artificial intelligence. Two words that make me both a little bit excited and a little bit scared at the same time. We are already seeing signs that Nebraskans are eager to join us on this odyssey to the extraordinary. We've seen a record-setting year for private philanthropy, an extraordinary statement of the generosity of donors, that they see our momentum and that they want to be part of the engine that powers it. Enrollment. We turned an important corner this year with growth overall among undergraduates and Nebraskans, a signal that students and families recognize the unbeatable combination of value and quality that our campuses offer. I'm particularly proud of our growth in areas that are critical to Nebraska Future's workforce, such as engineering, healthcare professions, and agriculture. And I know that our chancellors and their teams are committed to working even harder to make sure that every student, not just some students, but every student, has the opportunity to pursue a University of Nebraska education and to not admit an entering class, but to admit a graduating class each year. Strategic investments that will create opportunities for students and meet the needs of our state. Look no further than across the street at the Christensen complex for an example of the kind of magic that can happen when we join hands and do big things. Chancellor Bisek just relayed the increase in the pre-health professions enrollment at UNK that is driven through this unique partnership with the unicameral legislature, the private philanthropic community, and among and between two of the campuses of this great university system. At UNMC, we continue to move forward with Project Health, the boldest public-private partnership in the university history. In Lincoln, the new U.S. Department of Agriculture facility is taking shape that will transform agricultural innovation. In Omaha, we have the ambitious plans to expand the Peter Keywood Institute and, in so doing, grow Nebraska's STEM workforce. And given some of the items on our agenda today, and with our athletic director here, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we're also making important strategic decisions to stay on the cutting edge of the ever-evolving collegiate athletics landscape. There is no question that our facilities, our coaches, our staff, our fans, and of course our student athletes are the very best across the entire system. Pushing forward with our goal for recognition by the Association of American Universities, productive meetings with AAU leadership and Higher Learning Commission leadership in Washington and Chicago and elsewhere are carefully examining our metrics for recognition and where we need to close the gap. As I mentioned earlier, the revolution that's occurring in generative AI has prompted us to establish a working group across all of our campuses to look at the impact in education, in research, in outreach, extension, clinical care, and of course, in business and efficiencies. We've established a working group to look at all of our 83 extension services and locations to ask the question of what does extension look like in the future? How does it best support the farming and ranching communities of our state? And what can we do to take a leadership role to go far beyond the current borders? Our presidential scholarship program continues to be highly successful. All in, we now have 47 students that have met that unique qualification of perfect ACT scores or the equivalent. And indeed, the application pool that we're now seeing for the upcoming academic year, that would be fall of 2025, is even larger than it was in the last year. And just yesterday morning, in this very building, in this very room in the corner, we convened the search committee to do a very important job and search for the next permanent chancellor here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. It was a great honor to do that, to add all of our system chancellors to this important advisory committee, to set a timeline and a process to go full throttle on that search. These are the kinds of successes that are possible when we unite around a goal to achieve things together. Again, we are not going to rest on our laurels. We know we're just getting started. The chancellors and I know we have much work in front of us. We have to be willing to challenge our thinking, to be careful and candid with ourselves in assessing where we are and where we want to go. And as such, we are putting significant effort into a review and perhaps a bit of an overhaul of our strategic planning process and the development of goals, strategies, tactics, and initiatives that will drill down from the President's office to every department, division, college, and campus. This odyssey to the extraordinary necessarily involves a healthy dose of the unknown, and that's okay. In fact, if we weren't daunting, that means we're not thinking big enough. The past 100 days, or 96 days to be exact, have taught me, if they've taught me anything, it's that we are up to this challenge. And I couldn't be more excited about the next 100 days and the 100 days after that, and after that, and after that. There's a great deal of credit to this Board of Regents and to the people in this room and across the state who share in the love of this university and all that that means to the state of Nebraska. Every Nebraskan I've met cares about their university, and they want us to be successful. Our promise to them is that they and we together will wake up every day thinking about how we can deliver on that promise. I have never been more proud than I am today to be a Nebraskan by choice, looking forward to a busy and exciting fall semester and that which follows. Mr. Chairman, I turn the program back to you, sir, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, President Gold. At this time, I'd also like to take a moment to, again, thank our kudos recipients, but to also let them know that they can stay for the remainder of the meeting if they choose, but on the flip side, we'd take no offense if you have other things that you'd probably prefer to do. So I'll take just a brief minute here. If you want, anybody that wants to leave, please feel free to do so without any ramifications.
I take it that doesn't include me, right?
Okay, so we'll now move on to the public comment portion of today's meeting. The standing rules of the board provide that any person or persons may appear and address the Board of Regents on any items that are not on the agenda, if that individual provides the corporation secretary with 24 hours notice. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. The light on the table will turn yellow with 1 minute remaining and will turn red when your time has expired. We were contacted by 2 individuals wishing to speak on a topic that is not on today's agenda. Would Laura Brooks Dooland please come forward to the podium?
Good morning. Good morning. As you said, my name is Laura Brooks Dooland, and I'm a proud graduate of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, where I earned my undergraduate degree, and the University of Nebraska at Omaha, where I earned my PhD. Thank you for the opportunity to make comment today. My concerns regard the removal of diversity, equity, and inclusion offices across the campuses. While many don't know exactly what DEI does, it really is to understand the differences between us that help us make us unique contributors to our communities, our workplaces, and our society as a whole. And it helps us communicate through those differences. from Ms. Wilmot's district out in McCook, and college was the first time that I experienced many differences that I hadn't seen before. One of those differences was with my roommate, and that had to do with race. She was a Black woman, and she was so kind, and we had a blast our freshman year. Just like me, she was navigating her first time living away from home, trying to keep up with her studies, and learning how to live with a roommate. On top of that, she was tasked with fielding many of my assumptions and stereotypes due to just my lack of exposure. Now, none of these stereotypes were malicious or ill-intending, but I now know the negative consequences that those stereotypes can have, even if they're quote-unquote positive. Now, I'm fortunate. A huge number of people entering college end up dropping out because of the overwhelming challenges that they face that first freshman year. There are always problems when different worlds collide, and race may be the topic that we talk about the most, but DEI offices are there to provide many resources to all kinds of differences, like integrating veterans back from active duty, identifying barriers to disability, and helping all students succeed in their academics. And isn't that our goal? A loss of any student is a loss to our state and society as a whole. Additionally, I'm concerned what these removals will mean for our workforce. According to the Nebraska Community Foundation, over 50% of surveyed rural Nebraskans indicated that they're likely to advocate for diversity and inclusion in their communities. And a survey done by the Greater Omaha Chamber found that over 90% of young professionals believe that focusing on D&I is good for the workplace. These sentiments are the future of our workforce. If we don't listen, we're going to continue our pattern of brain drain and the harm to our economic growth. I have many friends who have left the state for this exact reason, and they don't plan on coming back. So for the future of Nebraska and our communities, please consider reinstating the DEI office at Lincoln and protecting the remaining offices across the NU system. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Would Yasina Madera please come forward?
Good morning, Board of Regents. My name is Yesenia, or Yessi for short. Either works. Thank you for letting me speak about the pressures facing the important areas of inclusion, diversity, and equity. But a little about me first. I just got married to my husband, Mark, in August, and we are working on starting our family. Both of us went to public school, and we completed our undergrad at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. And both of us are working on our master's now at UNO as well. As I thought about how I wanted to make my comments today, I remembered the influence that my own mother had on my decision of where I went to college. Creighton gave me, they offered me a lot more money in tuition, but it wasn't nearly enough to cover everything. UNO offered me a larger percentage in tuition. And my mother told me, she said she would take out a loan if Creighton was my dream. But I saw that discomfort in her expression as she said that. You see, my mother migrated here from Mexico when she was a little girl, and she's the reason I was such a successful student. So I felt like I owed everything to her. Why would I burden her with loans? So I chose to go to UNO with my full ride, and I graduated with 4 majors and no debt. So that's great. And obviously that public speaking class freshman year paid off in many ways. As a young professional and hopefully future mother, I consider my values and those I want to instill in my future children. My husband and I are excited to encourage our children to pursue their dreams, whatever they may be, knowing that our opinions and our values will influence them still, just like my mother's influenced mine. I understand our Nebraska schools were some of the very few around the nation that instilled an office of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a lot of pressure. And unfortunately, one of our schools buckled in the face of that pressure. Instead of leaning on their values, they retracted and dismantled that beacon they had of DEI. And it's important for me to send my children to a school that doesn't give way, doesn't get shaken by the voice of the loud minority. I want to recommend an institution that stands firm in their values and holds their beacon of hope and welcome and inclusion high and with pride. I stand before you today as a graduate student with the hopes of a more inclusive future to ask you to not cut your office of diversity, equity, and inclusion at UNO, UNMC, and UNK. Despite what you do with the programs under that office, removing that office sends a loud message, and keeping it will send a strong one. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The standing rules further provide that anyone desiring to speak concerning any item on the agenda for this meeting, regardless of notice, may do so. I will first invite individuals who provided notice to come forward, followed by those who did not. As I invite you forward, please identify yourself, and if you have not done so already, please complete the sign-in sheet before you leave. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. We were contacted by one individual wishing to speak on a topic that is on today's agenda. John Brennan.
Good morning, Regents. My name is John Brennan, and I reside at 4824 Davenport Street in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a member of the nonprofit group Preserve Omaha, formerly known as Landmarks. I'm on their board of directors, and I'm speaking today on behalf of our organization. Recently, 2 of our board members met with the real estate development team at the UNMC campus. They discussed the proposed demolition of 2 homes located at 3905 and 3903 Dewey Street. Preserve Omaha asked the development team to consider relocating the structures and/or considering salvaging the materials via deconstruction. But our requests were denied and the buildings were demolished. The agenda packet for the Board of Regents meeting on April 19th, 2024 indicated that these homes were not historically or architecturally significant. On the contrary, both of these homes were considered contributing structures to the Gold Coast Historic District in the Blackstone area in Omaha, making them federally designated historic buildings. Currently, the university owns several properties on the UNMC campus that have historic significance, most notably 4524 Farnham Street, commonly known as the Rathskeller. The university acquired this property in 2021. The construction around this location to facilitate expansion at the campus west of Saddle Creek Road has negatively affected the tenant, Rathskeller Beer House, and they have ceased operations. As the tenant searches for some entity to sublease the building, Preserve Omaha is concerned that the university will elect to demolish the building. The university's 5-year conceptual master plan indicates that the area is shown for future growth where the Rathskeller is located. The building has significant architectural features. It is of the Sullivan-esque style, of which there are few remaining examples in Omaha. Beyond that, the building has a rich history and has been in operation since the early 1890s. Preserve Omaha has prepared a brief document to inform the Regents of its historical and architectural significance. The State Historic Preservation Office has determined that the Rathskeller Building is an eligible candidate for the National Register of Historic Places for its architectural and commercial significance. Additionally, this building meets the criteria as established by ordinance for designation as an Omaha Heritage Preservation Landmark. We ask the Board of Regents to adopt policies that would prohibit the demolition of historic structures that are owned by the university and abide by local historic designation of buildings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Lynette Richards.
Good morning. My name is Lynette Richards. I am the Executive Director of Monument Prevention in Scottsbluff, and I'm a proud resident of the great state of Nebraska. Monument Prevention Coalition is an organization that is nonprofit and works diligently for the prevention of underage drinking and excessive alcohol use. On behalf of the coalition, I am here to speak in opposition of Agenda Item 11B1 for the reason of the health and safety of our youth. The mission of Monument Prevention Coalition is we are a community partnership whose mission is to create a community consensus that clearly states that underage drinking and excessive alcohol use is illegal, unhealthy, and unacceptable. Is selling alcohol at these college events legal? Yes, it is. Is it acceptable? Some may think it is, others may not. Is it unhealthy? Yes, it is unhealthy to our underage youth as well as dangerous for our community. The university athletic events are family events. We would like to continue that environment. We are aware that Nebraska is the only university in the Big Ten that does not sell alcohol on campus and at these events. However, I'd like to have you think, does this university do everything that other universities do? I would hope not, and I think that is, I cannot understand why this is so important to start selling alcohol at the events. Another question I have is the University of Nebraska a leader or a follower? I would like to think Nebraska would be a leader and continue to keep alcohol out of these events. As a university, I also look at the goal of the university is to teach. In this case, what is the university teaching? The decision you make today affects the institution, staff, faculty, and students for years to come. I would like to emphasize monument prevention is in opposition to agenda item 11B1. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this very important issue.
Thank you. Next up, we have, it's on medical education. He must be a doctor because I can't read the last name. I'm just going to say Richard H. So if Richard H. would come forward. No comments? Okay. All right. We'll pass on Richard. William Patmore.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for your work. It's a lot of hard work for you, I'm sure. I started right out of high school at UNL for 2 years. My wife went to the Med Center for 4 years, received her nursing degree and her bachelor's. My sons both came here to UNK. My wife got a master's here at UNK. And I actually worked for Kearney State College back in the late 80s, 100 years ago. And back then, we were dealing with alcohol as, okay, do we put alcoholic advertising on the scoreboards? What do we do about this and that? I worked as in the facility part and took care of the student union facility and ended up in the coolers where there was alcohol in the coolers without a liquor license at the time. I dealt with that with some letters. This has been a concern with me for a long time. My granddaughter just started this fall here at UNK. Family is really important to me. I want to have a family atmosphere in what we're about. Are we here as a place of higher education, or are we an athletic franchise? And an athletic franchise has a whole different set of goals than a higher place of higher education. I know we just heard about aiming higher, and just because all kinds of other folks do something, does that make it right? So I would stand against the sale of alcohol on any state-owned property or university property, and I appreciate your time in letting me speak.
Thank you. Next up, Wes Wilmot.
Morning, Regents, and thank you for allowing me this time, and also thank you for all the hard work you do. I do know some of what's involved in what you guys do, takes a lot of commitment. This morning, I am here to speak in opposition to your agenda item B1 regarding the sale of alcohol at in-use sporting events. And I know you've heard a lot of the arguments against it, but I kind of wanted to bring into question this morning some of the arguments for it. Because obviously the arguments against it are theoretical because it hasn't happened yet. But there are some arguments for it that are also not based in fact. And the first one, they already stole my thunder. We're the only Big Ten school left that doesn't do it. Yesterday we heard how exceptional this new project in Kearney has been, how exceptional the work we're doing at UNMC has been. We want to be extraordinary, quoting you. And it seems like if that is true, then why would it be such an issue that we are the only Big Ten school that doesn't do this? It seems like we've been extraordinary, but now we just need to jump in the river and float down the stream with everybody else. Totally against everything that we stand for. And number two, I had heard the theory that we were in danger of not being able to fill the seats at the stadiums if we don't do this. And I forgot to bring my little visual, but I was at a ball game, received a ticket that was gold trimmed. And it was a special game because that was the 400th sellout in Memorial Stadium. And that's a fact. And the fact is, Nebraska hasn't won a national championship for years and years, and there's never been alcohol sold at a Husker game. Those are facts, and yet 400 sellouts. So are we really in danger? I mean, if we don't do this, is this going to be the end of Nebraska athletics? I don't think so. And number three is the money. I've heard, oh, we're going to make all this money. I've also been told that Nebraska athletics has always supported itself, plus put money back into the budget. And so I don't see that as being a big issue. Like I said, if money is all we're there for, what is it, just a franchise? Or are we going to continue to educate people and do what the taxpayers ask? And that's my last thing. I would ask that you would put all this banter aside and remember what you told the people who elected you and sent you here. You told them what you would do, and that they trusted you and trusted your decision-making abilities. Just go back to that, make your decisions on that, and forget all this banter. And also, I'd like to plagiarize a little quote that I know you all heard from our governor several weeks ago. And when he said, at this level that you people operate at, the decisions you make will affect down to 7 generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Chris Wagner.
Good morning. My name is Chris Wagner. I'm the Executive Director of Project Extra Mile, which is a coalition of over 500 Nebraskans statewide. And we're here to express our opposition to item 11B1 because it'll lead to increased underage drinking, binge drinking, disturbances, and impaired driving. Nebraska is the 5th worst binge drinking state in the country, and you may be surprised to know that Kearney, Lincoln, and Omaha are among the top 15 worst binge drinking cities. Kearney is number 1. I can tell you with absolute certainty that allowing alcohol sales at sporting events has not and will not reduce this behavior, nor will any education program that you might choose to fund. The only things that work to prevent underage drinking and binge drinking are evidence-based policies like not selling alcohol in these venues, paired with the adequate enforcement of our liquor laws. A vast majority of universities that have gone down this road have done so because they needed to sell tickets. And no one really wants to admit that. Instead, they say it's about the fan experience. But that's not us. Our state supports our college teams like our lives depend on it. A decision to add alcohol will inevitably diminish the game day experience for families and the 43% of Nebraska adults who don't drink. And it will increase the risk of alcohol-related harms in the surrounding neighborhoods. A decision to add alcohol will detract from our uniqueness, as was already said. Based on previous votes and comments the board has made, we understand that this is likely a done deal. And if that is the case, our coalition calls on the university to ensure underage and visibly intoxicated attendees are not allowed to consume alcohol. Unfortunately, there are a lot of adults who don't act like adults. They sell to, buy for, and give alcohol to kids. It's a sad truth that we can't afford to ignore. We urge you to postpone this vote until the university has a plan that they can share with the public to demonstrate its commitment to doing everything in its power to prevent alcohol-related harms. A plan to ensure the safety and well-being of those inside and outside of the venues should include a limit on the number of drinks a person can purchase, high-quality wristbands for adults 21 and older that can only be removed with scissors, procedures for checking IDs and denying sales to intoxicated fans, a halt on alcohol sales during the second half of the game, a limit on drink sizes to standard alcoholic drinks to ensure that adults better understand how much alcohol they're consuming in order to prevent impaired driving, increase security through the seating areas and concourses to prevent the handing off of alcohol to underage and intoxicated fans, an agreement with local law enforcement to conduct compliance checks during events that would reimburse those agencies for the cost of admission for conducting these enforcements, and a mandatory training for all concession workers involved in the sale of alcohol. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on a topic that is on today's agenda? If so, please come forward, identify yourself, and complete the sign-in sheet before you leave. You will have three minutes again. But I think we've gone through everybody that's been on the list. But again, do we have anybody else that would like to be added at this point in time? Okay, with that, let's go ahead and we'll take a short break. We'll reconvene at 10:20. It is now time to consider the consent agenda. The consent agenda, as indicated by its name, is moved and voted on as a group of actions as opposed to the administrative agenda, where items are considered and discussed individually. With that said, unless one of my colleagues on the board wishes to consider any of the items of these items in the administrative agenda separately, I would invite a motion to approve the consent agenda at this time.
I have two items I'd like to pull.
Okay.
10A1 and also 10B under B, just not the whole thing. I would like to pull the Regents Policy 3.1.3.
Regent Wilmot, the request was made to repeat those numbers,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
That would be 10A1. And under 10B, it would be policy RP, Regents Policy 3.1.3.
Okay. With that, then that will just leave us with one remaining item for the consent agenda, and that would be item 10A2. So with that, do we have a motion to approve agenda item 10A2?
Second.
Any discussion? Having none, please call the roll.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Clare? Oh, sorry. Absolutely sorry. So currently we're voting on the consent agenda, which currently only includes item 10A2, the approval to award degrees and certificates for the 2024-25 academic year.
Okay,
10A1 and 10B1 have been pulled to be considered during the administrative agenda.
And under B1, for convenience and I guess speed, if you want to call it that, the only thing I'm wanting to pull for a separate vote is the Regents Policy 3.1.3. The rest of that, number 2, could move.
Regent Wilmot has made a request to address that separately and not in the consent agenda, but in the administrative.
All right, yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. With that, we can now move on to the administrative agenda. And bearing in mind, we're going to move items 10A1 and 10B1 to the administrative agenda. And I will now let President Gold walk us through the administrative agenda. So let me start with these two.
Sure. So the item 10A1, the President's personnel recommendations, was pulled from the consent agenda and therefore will be considered as part of the administrative agenda today. It consists of 5 different individuals consistent with Section 3.2 of the bylaws of the Board of Regents that provides that appointments to the position of Vice Chancellor Dean, equivalent ranks, shall be made by the President, subject to approval by the Board. Approval of the following appointments are recommended as contained in the Board of Regents documents that have been circulated. We recommend this to you for approval.
Do we have a motion to approve agenda item 10A1?
Second.
Discussion.
I had questions on, and there are 5 positions, I think, here now. Of these 5 positions, are any of these new positions? I mean, like positions that we've never had before?
Why don't we go through them one by one, Regent Wilmot,
Okay,
if that's
great.
okay?
That would be good.
And I would just refer to the respective chancellor. The first one is the interim associate vice chancellor of enrollment management at the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus. I'd ask Chancellor Bennett if that's a new position.
Regent Wilmot, it is not a new position. We have had a person that was in the position in an interim capacity who is going back to his original capacity. The university has decided to not fill that position immediately. So we have contracted with the registry where we selected the young woman whose name is listed here, who will serve in that capacity for about a year and a half, plus or minus.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah.
The second on the list, any further comment on that position? Second on the list is the interim associate vice chancellor for academic affairs and the interim dean of graduate studies and the interim vice provost at UNMC. Interim Chancellor Davies, do you want to comment? Is that a new position?
So these are roles that I was doing when I was senior vice chancellor. We at the University of Nebraska Medical Center tend to make sure that when people are filling administrative roles, we give them a stipend so that stipend goes away when they stop doing that role, so that we don't artificially increase the base salary. So these are roles, these are new roles to this person, but they're not new roles.
Okay, thank you.
The third, any further comment on that?
Well, the one thing I would ask too, I guess, in light of our, our budget concerns that we've been dealing with, my additional question there, and I assume I know the answer, but are these salaries staying pretty much just like they were before?
So yes, in fact, a lot of the way we compensate our faculty based on also their existing specialties that they bring to the role, and so physicians are compensated a little bit differently than others, and I think given that I was a physician, mine was a little bit higher than this, so in some ways this is actually lower than what it was previously, if that answers your question.
Yes,
The third is the interim vice president and chief financial officer, vice chancellor for business finance and business development at UNMC, and that is certainly an existing and combined role, reporting directly to the president. Are there any further question or comment on that?
And this salary that's quoted here is basically what it was prior to?
No, it's far less.
Okay. I like that sound.
We're saving money.
The fourth is the Vice Chancellor for Institutional Strategy and External Relations and Chief of Staff at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
Yeah.
Again, Chancellor Bennett.
Yeah. Regent Wilmot, this is Josh Davis. Josh Davis has been a long-serving member of the university community. He started his career with us in global and has worked at the president's office for a number of years, and then moved over to work in the chancellor's office under former Chancellor Ronnie Green. When I arrived 15 months plus or minus or so ago, he continued to work with me. This indicates or reflects an increase in responsibilities and expansion of that role, and it does reflect a slight increase in the position.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that because, as I said, with these budget concerns that we have, a lot of times when I see all these positions, I don't know if we're increasing the, administrative and all that, or if we're still being careful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the last one on this list is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. I'd ask Chancellor Lee if she'd comment, please.
Certainly. Regent, Dr. Candace Batten has been an assistant vice chancellor for a while, and this associate vice chancellor position has been held vacant for a while. So Dr. Batten actually was being promoted to this position with a lot of increased responsibility, and her salary proposed here is actually less than what the original position was. Thank you.
Any further questions on item 10A1?
Regent Clare.
I appreciate the concerns about the dollars. However, we are in a governance role, and if we have issues relative to salaries, we take that up with the president, and the president deals with it. These decisions are managerial, and we need to stay out of them. Thank you.
Call the question.
You have a question?
Call the question.
Oh, call the question. Okay. All right. Please call the roll.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Next, we'll go ahead and take up item 10B1, and we'll have President Gold lead us through that as well.
Thank you very much. Item 10B1 is entitled Approval to Amendments of Regents Policy RP 1.1.2, Regents Policy 3.1.2, Regents Policy 3.1.3, Regents Policy 3.2.5, Regents Policy 4.1.2, Regents Policy 6.5.4, and Regents Policy 6.6.2. These policy amendments were discussed extensively at our executive committee, and they're recommended to the board for approval. I would just say that we are systematically looking at all of the Board of Regents policies from beginning to end. Many of them have not been updated for 10, 20, or even more years. These represent, in many instances, compliance with federal policy, best practices of other universities, and leadership roles that we wish to have. Regent Wilmot, was there one of those specific policies that you wanted us to discuss today?
The questions that I have probably would be a little time consuming, but as a former EEO investigator, I had some concerns with the policy 3.1.3 and I would like to have that tabled so we could have some further discussion about some of the concerns.
Then would be appropriate then to recommend to the board to approve to amend the other Regents policies that were just listed, with the exception of 3.1.3, which
Correct.
we can bring back at a later time.
Correct.
Is anyone willing to make that motion?
I do make that motion.
Second.
We have a second, is that correct?
Yes.
Any further discussion on pulling that one specific piece?
The motion would be to adopt all of the policies listed.
No, that it's to pull and table.
Yeah, okay, pull and
Pull and
table.
table the 3.1.
Which one was it? 3.
But to table 3.1.3.
3.
Okay, any other questions? Please call the roll on the motion to table 3.1.3.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
No.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
No.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
No.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so that now leaves us with the remaining 4 items. Do we have a motion to approve the balance of 10B1 excluding policy 3.13?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
I had a quick question regarding some of these amendments and perhaps the nature of all these amendments, Dr. Gold. It seems that in Regents Policy 3.1.2, there's quite a bit of language being cut regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act, notably topics such as the duties of administrators like the president and the chancellors are going to be cut out, as well as other necessary standards for ADA compliance. I was wondering if you could explain the reason for these proposed amendments for less definitive duties and roles for university and university officials.
Well, thank you for your question, and I'll do my best to address Regents Policy 3.1.2 titled Accessibility and Compliance with the Disability Accommodation Laws. This is a major rewrite of this section of Board of Regents policy to create sustainable compliance with federal policy in this area. The historic policy, which actually dates back several decades, really needed to be updated. It was an attempt to rewrite some of the federal policy. It was incomplete and certainly significantly out of date. What this policy in its current form does is it requires the university leadership, my office, the chancellors, the campuses, etc., to be in complete compliance with all federal policy as it relates to disability accommodation. I would ask Ms. Paulzer, our general counsel, if you have any other comments on this, if you do.
Thank you. Just one clarification that the procedures that are included within the current policy don't go away. They're just pulled out of the board policy and will be addressed separate as on each campus and as the university system as a whole as policies and procedures there, so we can be more nimble to react to changes in the law when they come about. So the board policy will be the overarching umbrella under which the compliance is handled on the campuses.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's call the roll.
Oh, I think we need a...
Or we need a motion on that one yet. Yep.
Did we get a motion?
Let's...
Okay, got it. Sorry. I just didn't get it written
All
down.
right, so we can't call
All
the
right,
roll.
yep, sorry.
All right.
Regent Devaraju.
Yes.
Regent Herbin.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Adidam.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Clare. Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. I'll now, excuse me, proceed with the remainder of the administrative agenda discussion for your consideration. Item 11A1 seeks your approval to eliminate the Academy for Child and Family Well-Being in the College of Education and Human Sciences on UNL. The Academy for Child and Family Well-Being was a partnership between the University of Nebraska Lincoln Department of Special Education and Communication Disorders and Boys Town. As key faculty members who are involved in the center's efforts are no longer employed at UNL, the center has been inactive for several years. It is important to note that other faculty within the department continue to have significant relationships with Boys Town, but through other avenues. And all NU campuses participate in research and outreach activities that support Nebraska's families and youth. As our governor says, our children are our future, unquote. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee and is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve item 11A1?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11A2 seeks your approval to eliminate the W.M. Keck Center for Mesospin and Quantum Information Systems that is affiliated with the College of Arts and Sciences and the Office of Research and Innovation on the Lincoln campus. The W.M. Keck Center for Mesospin and Quantum Information Systems was originally funded by an external grant. That grant no longer provides funding for the center. Related research and other activities have been incorporated into the Nebraska Center for Materials and Nanoscience, so this important research in the area of quantum materials can and will continue without the need for a separate, redundant administrative center. Therefore, this item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval today.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11A2?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'd like to have Regent Stark give sort of an explanation of what mesospin and quantum information systems.
Definitely above my pay grade. Thank you.
As we said, there are enough lawyers in the room.
I was a philosophy major. Come on.
Did you not sleep in a Holiday Inn last night?
I did work for a nuclear power plant for 10 years.
All right, very good. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A3 seeks your approval to establish a Bachelor of Science in Applied Leadership Studies administered through the Division of Continuing Studies in the College of Public Affairs and Community Service at UNO. The proposed 120 credit hour online and in-person undergraduate degree in Applied Leadership Studies is designed as a flexible, accessible, and affordable offering for adult learners. Major coursework topics include practical, authentic, leadership, innovation, and change, effective communication strategies, negotiation, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, data-informed decision-making, social and cultural capital, and problem-solving. It does not include quantum materials, Regent Clare.
Thank goodness.
The degree is designed to address Nebraska's workforce challenges, especially for those adults to whom a bachelor's degree will open additional career pathways. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee and is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11A3?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Chancellor Lee, is this like a class that we could move to the other campuses? And we talk about online and we talk about breaking down the silos, it looks like a perfect opportunity that which, if you're in Kearney, you could take the class also.
Regent, that's a very smart question. Can you hear me?
Louder.
Okay, so the microphone's not working, but that's a very smart question, and University of Nebraska Omaha is always open to have that opportunity to collaborate with our sister campus. And I would like to add that in Nebraska, there are almost 1 million adults between the age of 25 to 64. Of this group, 23% actually earn a GED, high school diploma, 22% have some college but no degree, and 12% hold an associate degree. And we see the demand in the marketplace right now. In order to flip the current, adult with no degree, 4-year degree, I think this is a big opportunity for us to provide professional workforce. We absolutely would love to, talk with other campuses. Thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
I'd like to say I'm very supportive of programs like this. I know it's not my campus, Chancellor Lee, but when I was in middle school, my dad went back to college, and I got to see firsthand just how difficult it is for older students to acclimate to the college life now, especially considering his last time in college was in the 90s.
That looks like
Yeah, give us a break here.
Some of us feel old now.
I also know that older students typically have other obligations, such as full-time jobs and families. But I just wanted to note that I appreciate this special effort to accommodate non-traditional students, like my dad. So thank you.
So thank you, Regent. UNO is with the core of educating people of the world. Adult learner now actually make up a big portion of a student portfolio, and I truly agree with you. We are here to provide that kind of opportunities and hoping that we can transform and advance their socio-economic mobility. Thank you for the encouragement.
All right, anyone else? Please call the roll.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And now we'll move to the Business and Finance Administrative Agenda. 11B1 seeks your approval to permit alcohol sales at University of Nebraska athletic events. As you recall, in 2022, this board approved a change to our alcohol policies that allowed us to sell alcohol at athletic events subject to board approval on a case-by-case basis. Since that time, you've approved alcohol sales at Pinnacle Bank Arena for Husker men's and women's basketball games, at Haymarket Park, as well as at the Big Ten Wrestling Championships in 2022, and on Volleyball Day in 2023 at Memorial Stadium. There were no major alcohol-related incidents at any of these events. In addition, alcohol has been sold at Baxter Arena since 2015, since the arena was opened. We have shown that our athletic departments can do this in a safe and responsible way. And we give credit to our teams within our athletic departments and our vendors for approaching this issue carefully and thoughtfully over the years. We believe that we owe that level of diligence to our student athletes, to our coaches, to our staff, and importantly, to our great fans. If you approve this item today, you will be granting permission to sell limited amounts of alcohol consistent with best practice policies at University of Nebraska athletic events writ large without continually coming back to you on a case-by-case basis. The most immediate impact, as you have read in the press, is for Husker football and volleyball. With your approval, athletics intends to move towards an opportunity to offer alcohol sales at limited times during games at Memorial Stadium and the Devaney Center beginning in the 2025 respective seasons. There is much work to be done between now and then to get ready, but our athletic director, Troy Dannon, who joins us today, and his team have good plans in place and are confident that they'll be prepared to bring this new amenity to our fans, again, in a safe and responsible manner, including the continual monitoring of safety outcomes and to make real-time adjustments in policy consistent with the outcomes of the data. As stated earlier, this will bring us in line with the rest of the Big Ten and many of our other peers in the Power 4 conferences. I would also note that each campus is electing to sell alcohol that will sell alcohol at athletic events will continue to contribute a portion of any profits from those sales to alcohol safety programs. This has been an important discussion point with our board, and we are fully committed to using this opportunity to increase our investment in studying the outcomes of these changes and investing in safety initiatives. This item was reviewed, and I mean reviewed extensively, by our Business and Finance Committee, and it is now recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve item 11B1?
So move.
Second.
Discussion? I'll start right down at the end with the student regent.
I would like to say that I'm extremely on board with this change to UNL's campus. From a student perspective, it will increase the safety on game days, which is a positive effect that we have seen across our Big Ten peer campuses as well. My background is in campus safety, and I've seen the direct tie between binge drinking and the prohibition of alcohol sales in Memorial Stadium and the Devaney Center, which I adamantly will believe will decrease when alcohol sales are permitted in both of these spaces. The student body also favors these sales. We recently passed a resolution through our student senate in support of this safety change. In addition, athletics has agreed to give some proceeds from alcohol sales back to students to promote ongoing safety with alcohol, which is something that is exciting to students. Given the commitment by Husker Athletics to maintain security, safety, and overall family-friendly environment, as well as special attention to student well-being, I am going to be enthusiastically voting yes on this item with a commitment to student safety.
Okay, Regent, start.
First of all, I want everyone to know that we took this very serious. The board, we spent a lot of time in discussions with our athletic director, Dannon. Each of us brings our own experiences and opinions. Mine has changed over 40 years. My first phase in the 90s and 2010, very much concerned about alcohol abuse in my clinical practice as a medical psychologist. Not to mention my work with the Med Center and fetal alcohol syndrome, but to provide context for Coach Osborne. I've met with Coach twice in the last week and received some written information. I'd like to share that with you from Coach Osborne. I am not advocating for no beer sales as much as trying to give some perspective on what makes Nebraska a good place to watch a game for young and old. Selling alcohol in the stadium will change things. I witnessed this in NFL stadiums and other Big Ten schools. We also were a part, because I was on the sidelines, and we've had beer thrown on us at away games and some really bad stuff happened to us. I realize that schools will likely have to come up with $20 million in NIL money. A year from now, college football playoff will increase payouts significantly, so this may come as a wash. I like Troy Dannon and very much, and I don't want to give him problems. I just want to make sure that this is looked at from every angle. If the Regents sell alcohol in the stadium, I would think that this should make alcohol sales possible across campus. That is not going to be the case. I don't think. My concern is this, is that we've had a lot of discussions in our various committees, and we've come up with some suggestions, and we have confidence in our athletic director, Troy Dannon. We've talked about having breathalyzers available on campus as an educational process, the dangers of alcohol abuse. We've had extensive work over the last 20, 30 years in terms of binge drinking that should continue to take place. We also have other issues, security that you're addressing, not selling beer late in the game, etc. So we would like to be able to get that list of all the things that you'll be using. And I would say this, my recent experience going to 17 years at Creighton basketball games and another 17 years at hockey Maverick games where beer is sold, we've seen a decrease in events. My last concern, though, is more recent research on alcohol abuse and cancer. 5.5% of the people who develop cancer, diagnosed with cancer, have related directly to alcohol. We need to be aware of that's some 75,000 people a year. So with this in mind, we would like to, I think Coach and I feel that we need to monitor it closely, follow up with Dr. Gold's comments. So we'll be supporting it, but following it very closely. Thank you.
I would like to ask a question of clarification. Dr. Gold stated we're talking Husker football and volleyball. I believe he said he specifically mentioned Memorial Stadium and Devaney. Are these the only two places that we're impacting with this vote?
As I understand it, this would be across all athletic venues.
In all campuses?
On all campuses.
So it's much wider than what it kind of sounds like. And then we're talking about, we're going to monitor this, we're going to see how this plays out. And that makes it sound like we could make some changes, but we're also talking multi-year contract here. I mean, how long would it take us to back out of something if it turned out not to be what we all think it's going to be?
Well, perhaps Mr. Dannon would want to comment, but I'll tell you there are a lot of policies and procedures that have to do with for how long during a game you sell it, how much you sell, what products you sell, etc., which can be determined during real time and is not necessarily contractually dictated. But maybe, Troy, you'd want to make a comment.
Yeah, Regional Wilmot, to your question, if we are not doing our job in how we monitor, how we regulate, if we're not taking care of our own business, there are ramifications. There'll be contracts out beyond a period of time that we have obligations to providers that we may have to remove ourselves from those contracts if we don't take care of business. I would say I'm more worried that if I don't take care of business, President Gold will find someone to take care of business. So it's not a matter of necessarily us not doing the business, but trusting the responsibility of all of us to enforce, one, the state liquor laws, two, best practices, which are proven over the advantage to all 17 schools in the Big Ten doing this already is there are best practices. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, we know where we need to capture particular areas of emphasis and security. So one, I would trust that we're going to take care of business. If we don't, yes, there are things that would have to be rolled back, just as if any policy changes that may affect a contract that's already in place.
I have a question too. Some people had brought to me concerns. I know we talked about the fact that we're going to be expanding the offerings of food, et cetera. And their concerns is what safeguards do we have to make sure that our Nebraska companies, Runza, Valentino's, the Big Red hot dogs, are going to be demanded in that contract so we're not hurting any of our own Nebraska businesses?
I can't really speak to individual contracts that a concessionaire may enter into with third parties to provide product. That's really outside of my purview and would be outside of our purview. Know that while it's not a part of this particular motion, and we are inviting RFPs for concessionaires for next year, one of the things that we have informed them in the RFQ process is that there are longstanding relationships and traditions inside of the stadium with certain vendors, you've named a few, that we think are important going forward. Similarly, one of the things that we've asked for, frankly, is there are certain venues across the country that have very family-friendly friendly concession pricing, extraordinarily. And they do larger volume because of lower price, just the volume makes up the margin of difference. And we've asked for that consideration in this as well, because we do have a demographic, a younger, a skewed family demographic in the stadium where I think family-friendly concession prices are more important in our stadium than they are in a lot of other stadiums.
I have a question as well. The other safety issue that we've discussed, and I think is really critical, is to talk about people will not leave the stadium once they come in, so that we don't have people drinking in the stadium and then tailgating at halftime or whenever they leave the stadium and come back. Is that part of your safety plan?
I think there's a bigger holistic safety evaluation that needs to be done at the conclusion of the season. And we've already talked to Homeland Security just about all of our practices.
Right.
The exit and entry is not best practice in stadium management. Letting people in after the initial security sweep in the morning of game day is not best practice.
Right.
So I would consider, while it's not necessarily tied to this, it's a bigger part of a security analysis that needs to be done in the stadium as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay, Regent Shear.
Thank you, Mr. President. As chairman of the committee that heard this, I do want to reiterate that we did have a fairly extensive conversation in regards to this process. But I also want to make the point that, one, I want to acknowledge that I received several emails from folks that were opposed to this, and myself and I'm sure other regents had the same concerns that were expressed in those emails. However, my job or our job as regents is not to assume what's going to happen, is to try to take what actual information is out there, the technical and studies that have been presented that are factual to that point, and what it says related things happen upon the sale of alcohol. And one of those which took place was the University of Iowa when they started having alcohol sales. And President Gold, if you could respond a little bit, we all requested a copy of the report. And it was very interesting because my assumptions were not correct based on what the facts actually said happened after. And so I hope that those that stated that they were in opposition, I'm not trying to change your mind. You can be opposed, but you also should be aware of that there is other information out there that some of the assumptions that we all went to initially just simply don't hold up under the scrutiny of actual statistics. So President Gold, could you just sort of highlight some of the items in that as well?
Sure. So what Regent Shear is referring to is this document that was released from the University of Iowa titled Alcohol Sales Pilot Evaluation Report. And what it did was compare the 2019 and 2021 seasons before and after alcohol sales in their venues. And I'm just going to read you the statement on conclusion because it's very brief. And this is a peer-reviewed publication. And, there are, 8 or 10 different co-authors on this, including the Director of Student Life, the Department of Public Safety, the University Alcohol Harm Reduction Committee, another division of Student Life, the Office of the Dean of Students, and the Department of Public Safety, and one representative from the Department of Athletics. And this is a quote. In-stadium alcohol sales in 2021 were associated with a significant decrease in alcohol-related emergencies when compared to most recent full season of football games in 2019. There was a 50%, that would be 50% decrease in alcohol-related emergency medical service calls and emergency department visits following kickoff, despite availability of alcohol for sale in the stadium. As a result of this decrease, they now reject the ingoing hypothesis that increased access to in-stadium alcohol would lead to more incidents. That is to say, they went into this study with a hypothesis that it would have an adverse outcome in medical-related events. Should also be of interest to you that of the approximately 1,500 emergency department visits and the hundreds and hundreds of emergency calls that occurred in the stadium, alcohol-related game day events was 8% to 7%, a very, very small percentage of why people go to the emergency room or call 911 at athletic events. And I don't know, Troy, if you want to comment on any of the rest of the report, but it's a pretty detailed scientific evaluation, which we'd be more than pleased to provide.
That report is the most recent, as Iowa was one of the most recent to add, but it is consistent with the reports from other institutions as alcohol sales have come on. Similar responses.
Attributed, I believe, at least in this report, to the decrease in binge drinking.
Okay. Regent Claire?
Yes, and I want to start by apologizing because I did get some emails, but I was not able to apologize. I had a family issue that came up this week that prohibited me from being able to respond to some of the emails that I received. I sit on the Joint Public Agency in Lincoln, which oversees Pinnacle Bank Arena, and we've had beer sales at PBA for a period of time, and to my knowledge, there's never been an incident. And we went into it kind of anxious about it because we didn't know what we were going to get into, and some of the concerns that Jack was mentioning about getting beer dumped on him, I can promise you if that happened at PBA, that person would be evicted immediately, and that person's privileges to own a ticket would be revoked. So those are part of the safety plans that I think Troy and his team are going to be putting together, and that will curb a lot of the issue that I think people have from the outset. The other part of it I think is important, and again, we've never had that. There's big concern. You got a guy sitting on the floor of a basketball game, and somebody, a referee makes a bad call, and somebody throws a beer on him. That was a concern. That would be a big concern. I promise you that never has happened, and it will not happen. And if it does, that person will no longer be able to attend those games. But second thing I think is important to point out is the proceeds. A lot of the proceeds that will be generated here. Yes, it's going to go to help the athletic department financially, but more importantly than that, as was mentioned, I believe Troy and his team are going to be using some of these proceeds in a grant format to the UNL for students, correct me if I'm wrong, to help educate them on binge drinking. And this has been something that we have had, and now the resources have gotten tight, and I don't believe there has been resources applied or grants for students in the past or recent past on binge drinking. That's a concern of mine. I think this helps curb that. Also in the communities, I think we're going to have something come up where we've got dollars that are going to be used in the communities where this is the campuses are located to help the community at large with some of their binge drinking. I don't believe that's through the athletic department, but that's part of the process that we're looking at. So we're taking a lot of the revenue that's being generated isn't just going to help boost the economic coffers of the athletic departments. It's instead being used for that and helping curb and educate people on the risks associated with alcohol. And so I'm 100% confident in Troy's ability to develop a safety plan. I'm 100% confident in his team and what they're going to be doing to put things together. And part of that safety plan, I'm sure, is going to be if we have some of these difficulties, those fans will also lose their privilege as well. Thanks.
Okay.
I feel like in all these nuts and bolts, what we've forgotten is something that we heard earlier. And one of them is exactly what our governor says. This is all about the children and the 7 generations. We're overlooking the elephant in the room. We're overlooking the fact that these are family events. We're setting examples. We're putting things out there that we say we often want to protect our children from. And so I guess I feel like we're a little bit selling our soul. And I'm not comfortable with that. And then also, I mean, I think I know the votes going forward, but as a regent, I still feel responsible. And yes, I trust you guys to do your best, but I want to see those safety measures that are in place. Again, because more heads together are better than one.
Regent Kenny.
Troy, you've touched on it a little bit, but maybe make a clearer picture. You're moving from an internal operation to an external.
Yeah, we have been doing concession services on our own, employing concessionaires, volunteer groups, youth groups, church groups to man the stands, if you will. We are going to employ a third-party concessionaire, of which there are many that do stadiums of this magnitude, that will come in. They will hire a staff. Again, it was mentioned earlier, a staff that's trained. Certainly liquor laws would allow a minor in a concession stand to sell alcohol, but the liquor license would actually be held by a third-party concessionaire that would provide that. That process is set to begin next week, and hopefully be selected by the end of the year. The other thing that would come along with that, the infrastructure of the stadium right now is not conducive to selling alcohol. There aren't coolers, for example, spread throughout, and we don't have good vertical transportation to move things. So there will be capital improvements to the concession stands made between now and next year, really as a part of integration of this as a whole. Alcohol sales are a piece of it. The concessionaire agreement moves forward with or without alcohol sales, but because it needs to happen. But this will go along with it and will be a part of the amenities they'll offer.
I have another question too. We keep saying that we want to do this because we're somehow going to eliminate binge drinking. Are we then eliminating all the tailgates with alcohol on our campus?
Well, we're not going to eliminate binge drinking. There isn't anything any of us can do to eliminate binge drinking. Right now, we have binge drinking. It was noted without alcohol sales in the stadium. What in theory has happened is, as Dr. Gold referenced at the University of Iowa study, because there is less hurry up and drink now before we go into the stadium because we can't drink during the game, or go out at halftime and hurry up and drink as much as we can because we can't drink in the second half. That is what has been noticed as being eliminated, that piece. The tailgating, the climate environment around, this doesn't change any of that. But it does keep people from, this is my last chance for the next 90 minutes to have a drink, so I'm going to drink 3. That is what has been noticed in other venues.
Regent Stark.
I'll have this report up here. I think some of you that came would like to have reference to this. We'll leave it up here if you want to copy it and look at it. It's probably the latest and best data. It's very consistent with what we found in the last 20 years at Creighton and at UNO, where beer sales is. Binge drinking dropped significantly because of this process. So we'll have it here in case you want to look at it, okay?
Yes.
So just from UNMC's perspective, this doesn't affect us a whole lot, as we have a mascot and we have a fight song, but we don't actually have a sports team, and so this doesn't directly impact us. So I will be abstaining, but what I can say is that there is a paradox that often happens in public health, where our assumptions and like what seems perfectly logical ends up being very contrary to reality. We see this, for example, with, we think prevention's better than cure. We do a lot of scans on people, and we actually find things that we didn't mean to find, and we end up causing more harm by, operating on them, et cetera. So there are a lot of illogical things like that that happen with public health, and I think I'd only mention this because I'm sure that the board will face more things like this. But assumptions can be really different from reality, and I think with this Iowa study, we do see that. If we are really trying to protect people, we might have to go with the data. So I will be abstaining either way, but I wanted to say that.
Anyone else? Well, I would just take a moment, and I've said it many times before, I believe in treating adults like adults. With that, as Regent Claire points out, the adults will have choices in front of them, and they'll be able to make a decision and take action based on that decision. And if they make poor decisions and make bad actions, there's going to be ramifications for it. And so I'm going to be supporting this. I think it's a way to bring it in-house and actually control it and provide a more controlled setting for the consumption of alcohol as opposed to the binge drinking or the guzzling to get a buzz prior to a game or at halftime, which quite frankly is the wrong thing to try to teach our youth. As a father of 2 teenage girls, I think it's important that we show them how to act responsibly. And we can do that, at least in all we're talking about at this point in time is within the confines of the stadium. Are there issues outside of the stadium? Yeah. And quite frankly, it's hypocritical. It's there. And, that's a discussion for another day. But what we've got in front of us right now, right here today, let's keep the main thing. And that is, are we going to approve alcohol across the campuses in the controlled settings where we can control it? And so with that being said, I'm going to be voting yes. Anyone else? If not, please call the roll.
Regent Devaraju?
Abstain.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
No.
Regent Clare? The motion passes.
I want to take just a moment, too, to thank all the people that did reach out. I know I have quite a stack here, and I even had some that just came to personal email. But I am thankful that at least you may have been defeated in some of the things that you had hoped for, but I encourage the public to remain engaged because we need to hear from you on all issues.
Thank you. The next item is 11B2 that seeks your approval to delegate authority to the president of the university to finalize a contract consistent with the standard form construction agreement within the project budget for replacement of the grass practice fields for football at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, upon approval by the athletic director, the president, and as to form, the vice president and general counsel. Nebraska football has 2 grass outdoor practice fields that are located north of the Osborne Legacy Complex. These fields serve as a practice facility throughout the year for the Husker football program. Replacement of the grass practice fields would include removal of all surface material and converting both fields from a crowned surface to being leveled. This change allows for the fields to be utilized from various angles, which reduces wear and tear on the grass. Removal of the surface material would also allow for replacement of all of the underlying soil, which will assist with growing healthy sod, which is safer for student athletes. Additionally, new drainage and irrigation systems will be added, which would add in the overall maintenance of the fields. The total project cost is estimated to be up to $6.2 million. Due to the procurement lead times and other factors, providing such authorization to the president will ensure that the project is completed prior to the 2025-2026 football season. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee and is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B2?
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question. Memorial Field is not a grass field. Is that correct? I kind of would love to know the context of deciding to do the practice fields this way, but not Memorial Field.
So the practice fields are essentially 30 years old. Same surface. They have crowns. We don't play with a crown any place. Even grass fields don't use crowns anymore.
Yeah.
So the practice fields need to be done. And done in the right way, not just superficially with a new layer of grass. We anticipate moving to grass inside of Memorial Stadium at some point in time once any renovations are complete. There's no sense in doing it before, but once the renovations are complete, it will come with it. Grass has proven to be a safer playing field. Our coach in particular would rather practice on grass, and will practice on grass through whatever the weather is, as long as it's safe to be outside. So getting the practice fields where we don't practice inside the stadium at all, only on those grass fields.
Thank you. You answered my second question, too.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You might-
Comments?
You might say you'll be able to play all different directions, too.
Yeah, without the crown, instead of just playing north-south, we'll be able to halfway through the season move east-west. And so the wear and tear in the belts between in the center of the field that we play on, it'll survive long-term. We'll be able to practice on those fields throughout the season without replacing grass.
Thanks.
Anything else? Please call the roll.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B3 seeks your approval for the capital project budget increase and execution of a construction agreement for the second phase of the outdoor track replacement at UNL. As you may recall, when the outdoor track replacement project was brought to you for approval in 2019, the project was developed using a phased approach. The first phase of the project was completed almost a year ago, and athletics is now requesting approval to move forward with the second phase of the project. This second phase scope includes a press box area, stadium seating, restrooms, concessions, and infrastructure to support IT requirements. The completion of this second phase of improvements will allow athletics to host events at the track. A budget increase of $10,881,200 is requested to deliver the second phase scope of work. This item was also reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee and is recommended for your approval today.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B3?
So move.
Discussion? Having none, please call the roll.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B4 seeks your approval in the renaming of Memorial Stadium North Tower from what is currently named as the Osborne Athletic Complex to the Cornhuskers Athletic Complex. With the naming of the newly built football facility to the Osborne Legacy Complex, athletics would like to move forward with the renaming of Memorial Stadium North Tower from the Osborne Athletic Complex to the Cornhuskers Athletic Complex. This facility will continue to serve as the home of many Nebraska athletic administrative units and teams. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve item 11B4?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Can you help us with the rationale or where this decision and idea came from?
I would ask Troy if that's okay with you.
It's almost wayfinding. So when the new complex was named the Osborne Legacy Complex, we have the Osborne Athletics Complex, the Osborne Legacy Complex. The bronze of coach was moved to the Legacy Complex. And this is really the anticipated second sequence was name comes down here, moves over here, and then we go back to generic. Because right now, if you tell someone to go to the Osborne Complex, people have no idea where to go. So it was really a transition of the main public entrance into the athletic facilities moving into what was the Go Big project.
And I'm guessing, Troy, it also creates another naming opportunity.
At some point in time, when the stadium project comes online, it does create another naming opportunity indeed.
Regent Shear.
Yes, and I think perhaps one of the items that Regent Wilmot was questioning, although it didn't come about, you have had, I know there has been discussions with Coach Osborne, and he is in concurrence with this. This is not a surprise to their family or anything.
No.
This was something that was already discussed, and he's fully on board with, so.
Yeah, this was something that was understood before the naming of the Osborne Legacy Complex. And it just really has finally come to the point now that everything's over there and all the signage is done that we need to make the adjustment to the north end. If anything, it was my error not knowing we needed permission to take the name down and revert back to more of a generic name with the transition.
Anyone
you.
else? Please call the roll.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B5 seeks your approval and authorization to execute the first amended and restated interlocal agreement for the administration and operation of Network Nebraska. The first amended and restated interlocal agreement defines the partnership between the State of Nebraska Office of the Chief Information Officer, better known as OCIO, and the University of Nebraska to develop and maintain a statewide multipurpose, high-capacity, scalable telecommunications network known as Network Nebraska. Network Nebraska serves as Nebraska's statewide research and education network governed under the Nebraska Information Technology Commission. Network Nebraska enables members to share telecommunications resources, network services, applications, and support through a consortium of K-12 higher education institutions, libraries, and other educational entities working together to provide scalable, reliable, and affordable infrastructure. Since 2007, Network Nebraska has been able to lower the per-unit cost of commodity internet by 99% for its members through aggregating demand and competitive bidding, and currently enjoys one of the lowest costs for commodity internet in the entire country. The interlocal agreement provides clarity for the OCIO, the information officer, and the University of Nebraska in their respective roles and responsibilities in administering and operating Network Nebraska. The amended and restated agreement also integrates current provisions and contract language necessary to protect the university as demands upon Network Nebraska continue to increase. This item was also reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B5?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I have a question. Can someone explain to me, is this Network Nebraska, do they provide the services inside Memorial Stadium or not? That's a different vendor. Okay, I guess I'll make a public comment, and I think our partner, whoever it is in Memorial Stadium, is, if I had to give a pass-fail grade on that, it'd be a failure. The communication between whether you're using your phone to make a call or to send data or a text, it doesn't work. And I think as we talk about improving the fan experience, that's something we need to look into and get it fixed sooner rather than later.
Regent Schaefer, this point was brought up at a recent committee meeting, and we're already undertaking a thorough study as to what the cause of that is. I have been at least preliminarily informed that although there was a clear intent to upgrade access to information technology support at Memorial Stadium, it was temporarily paused when it was thought that there'd be a major stadium renovation project initiated in a sooner than later time frame. We have gone back to the drawing board with our IT support people and third-party vendors to look at that. We recently had an opportunity to talk to the individuals that run the drone shows for us, and that is a concern to them as well because they depend upon tremendous density of wireless communication. So noted, sir.
Okay.
Question.
Regent Kinney.
So, I mean, Brent, maybe you need to answer this. Is this part of the high-speed connection with our new teaching hospital that would come to Kearney, or is this something totally separate?
Yeah, so when we, for example, the tour yesterday, Regent Kearney, so that runs on university infrastructure already. We have 100 gig connectivity between Omaha, Lincoln, and Kearney and all of our campuses. That's soon to be up to 400 gigabit connection speeds between there, so that's where that link would happen from a university standpoint. Network Nebraska is specifically a partnership between the state of Nebraska and the university to administer high-speed, low-cost internet to all K-12 across the state of Nebraska public. So we have about 293 members, all but one across the state that utilize that. And this specific agreement, to Dr. Gould's point, is around the university's liability to make sure that is well understood from a cyber-specific standpoint.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B6 requests your approval to engage Forvis Mazars LLP to provide audit services for the Nebraska Educational Telecommunications Commission, the University of Nebraska Television Department, and the Nebraska Public Media Foundation, excuse me, to maintain compliance with the Federal Communications Act, business related to Nebraska public media, including the engagement of audit services, must be conducted at public meetings of the Board of Regents. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval.
Do we have a motion to approve agenda item 11B6?
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
I want to mention that it was also discussed at the Audit Committee about how important it was that we get an accurate and legal audit of Nebraska media. And they have their own board, and they had been doing it separately, and we believe that it needs to be part of the university audit. So that's a part of our discussion of this.
Okay. Anyone, Regent Shear?
Yes, I think as important as the audit committee's resolution as well, part of it was just simply the federal government's compliance that they wanted the governing body to solicit the audit rather than the entity itself. And so, I mean, to me, it's a lot of bureaucratic red tape. We're doing exactly the same thing. It's just who's calling to ask for the audit to be done. And it seems to me like a terrible waste of our time and others involved in the audit process to have to go about it in a different manner, just simply to have the verbiage in it that it was requested by the Board of Regents versus by the Board of Directors from the NET or Nebraska Public Radio or whatever they call themselves now.
Could I add a little context?
Sure,
Thank you, Jim.
absolutely.
I also think that there's a reporting piece to this, to the board. We haven't been getting much in the way of reports. For instance, the change of the name from Nebraska Public Television to Nebraska Media. And I think just because it is reflective of the university, we do need to be clearer about where changes need to get made and where oversight needs to be done. And I think you're right. It's changing. We're basically doing the same audit, but we're doing it and reporting it to the board in a way that it hasn't been in the past. So that was part of our discussion.
And truly, probably, Barb, in fairness to them, we never asked, so they didn't send it. And so
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Call the roll.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny? Yes. Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark? Yes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B7 seeks your approval and authorization to execute the Second Amendment to the interim tri-party agreement for Project Health. The Second Amendment to the tri-party agreement formally authorizes the contracted parties to advance the validation stage, extending the contract value to $40,510,993.00. The interim tri-party agreement between the University of Nebraska Board of Regents and the vendors was executed on May 5th, 2024, to engage the project members for the project programming stage. This extension will allow the Project Health Facility Development Team to validate the project scope and the cost to inform the creation of the final project documents. This does not include any element of construction. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval today.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B7?
So
Make
moved.
it.
Second.
Move in second. Okay, a motion. Any discussion? Regent Shear.
Yes, I think it's also important to note that as we've been moving forward with the Project Health, that the funds that we are utilizing are private funds. They are not dollars that the university has brought in via the legislature or others. They are private donations that have gone towards the funding of this, and it has not impacted the university's ability to fund its educational services by one iota. And I think that would be true as well as on 8 and 9 in relationship to that.
Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark, Regent Whites.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B8 seeks your approval for the engagement of KPMG LLP to provide audit services for Project Health. The university issued a competitive, value-based selection process, and KPMG was unanimously recommended by the selection committee for audit services. KPMG is currently contracted for professional services under a master services agreement dated June 30th, 2022 with the University of Nebraska. An engagement letter will be executed against this master services agreement to contract for audit services for Project Health. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B8?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
This was also discussed and approved by the Audit Committee. You might want to know that.
Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Clare, Regent Kenny, Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B9 seeks your approval for the acquisition of 4643 Farnham Street in Omaha. To support the continued master plan efforts of the University of Nebraska Medical Center and the Saddle Creek District, approval is being sought to acquire the real property located at 4643 Farnham Street in Omaha. This acquisition is a continuation of real estate assemblage in a key location within the boundaries of the Saddle Creek District and is part of the facility master plan of UNMC. However, there are no immediate plans for alternative uses of this parcel, and the property will continue to be leased until such time that a use is determined. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and it is now recommended to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 11B9? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare. The motion passes.
Thank you, Regent Schaefer. It's now my pleasure to turn the meeting over to you for discussion of item 11C1.
There is currently a vacancy on the Board of Directors of Nebraska Medicine. The Nebraska Medicine bylaws provide for a nominating committee responsible for identifying candidates in the event of such a vacancy. If recommended by the nominating committee, such selection must be approved by the members of Nebraska Medicine and voted on by the Nebraska Medicine Board. The Board of Regents desires to select a candidate to submit for consideration to the nominating committee. Do we have any nominations for a candidate to be submitted to Nebraska Medicine Nominating Committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Jim Shear.
Okay.
I would second that.
Do we have any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Regent Barbara Whites.
Okay, so I think we've got, well, that's two. Is there a third? Is there anybody else that would like to nominate an individual of the board? Since we have Regents Shear and Whites have been nominated to be the candidates submitted to Nebraska Medicine Nominating Committee, we'll go ahead and are we going to halt nominations at this point in time? If so, that's the case, so we'll halt nominations. So with that, if there's no objection, we will dispense at this point in time to vote, and I believe we'll do that on these slips here.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, before each of you are some slips of paper, which will serve as the ballots. The 8 elected regents will vote on blue-colored ballots. The student regents will vote on the yellow-colored paper. Please write your selection clearly on your ballot. A nominee shall win the vote with a majority of the quorum, which is 5 votes. I will announce the results from both the elected regents and the position of the student regents and record those results in the minutes.
I actually have
The votes of the elected regents are 4 votes for Regent Shear and 4 votes for Regent Whites. The student position, 2 votes for Regent Shear, 2 votes for Regent Whites.
All right. Since we have a tie and neither nominee has secured a majority of the votes, we will vote again.
Great.
Why don't you just pass that around?
The votes of the elected regents are 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. The student position, 1 vote for Regent Shear, 3 votes for Regent Whites.
All right, let's vote again.
Mr. Chairman, could we use the restroom very quickly, or do we need to finish voting?
How about we vote real quick, and
Okay.
while she's tabulating, we
That'd be
take
great.
a break at that
Okay.
point. Would that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Right out these doors and then down the corridor.
I think we're taking a break.
The results of the votes of the elected regents are 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. The student position, 1 vote for Regent Shear, 2 votes for Regent Whites, 1 abstaining.
I tried.
Let's go ahead and. Do you want to
Yeah, since
give the
there's-
results?
Since I did, they were just a reminder, the last round of votes of elected regents, 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. Of the students, 1 for Regent Shear and 2 for Regent Whites and 1 abstaining.
Okay, let's vote again.
votes of the elected regents, 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. The student position, 4 votes for Regent Shear.
Okay, let's vote again.
Well, maybe I can make a difference.
The votes of the elected regents, 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. Student position, 2 votes for Regent Shear, 2 for Regent Whites.
Let's go one more time.
A lot of exercise.
The results, the votes of the elected regents, 4 votes for Regent Shear, 4 votes for Regent Whites. Student position, 2 votes for Regent Shear, 1 for Regent Whites, and 1 abstain.
We can continue to go forward if that's what people want, or is anyone willing to make a motion to table this vote until we meet again? And then maybe there's an opportunity for there to be some movement to get this done at another day.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Regent Herbin?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Adidam?
Yes.
Regent Devaraju?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Regent Schaefer. There are also numerous reports for the board's review today.
I accept the reports as listed in the agenda on behalf of the board. Is there now a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Regents go into closed session as authorized by Section 84-1410 of the revised statutes of the Nebraska for the protection of public interest and to prevent needless injury to the reputation of persons who may not be requested a public hearing for that purpose of holding a discussion limited to those subjects. The discussion is confidential, personnel matters, and strategy sessions as respect to the real estate purchases.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Adidam,
Yes.
Regent Devaraju,
Yes.
Regent Herbin,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Let the minutes of this meeting reflect that this closed session shall be strictly limited to the discussion of the following subjects: confidential personnel matters and strategy sessions with respect to real estate purchases. We are now in closed session. I would ask everyone to, except for the elected board members, President Gold, and our corporate secretary and legal counsel, to stay in the room. And we're back in open session. I believe, do I need a motion to adjourn? We just go ahead. There being no further business, and if there's no objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you.